like to share with you a couple of stories about average sale and raising your average sale. The retailer Suzanne's had this fantastic little slogan. This goes with that at Suzanne's. And it was encouraging people to go along and buy this, went with that, this went with that. They were able to combine things in the store from a merchandising point of view, and the customer was aware that this goes with that. For some unknown reason, they don't use it anymore. But it's a great way of thinking. When you sell somebody something in a retail situation, you think to yourself, well, what goes with it? You need to have it close by. Let me tell you a little story. I'm looking through the window of a sports store that sells shoes and clothes and stuff like that for sporting. And I'm watching this young lad who's 15 years of age, and I noticed that as he's showing the people, talking to people about shoes, he'd bring them across to try them on. He'd always use the end seat, row of 3 or 4 seats. He'd always usher them towards that. Then he'd kneel down and he'd put the shoes on for them and try them. They'd walk around and he'd stand in front of that seat to make sure they came back to it, and they'd come back to it. And then after they'd sort of were about to take those shoes off and they'd sort of fitted them ready to go, he'd kneel down and he'd just spin the sock rack around and he'd go, they match, they match, they match. Do you think 3 would be about right that match? You see some others that you like? And then he'd stand up and he'd do it again. Customer would come in, want to buy some shoes, he'd usher them to that one there, sit them down, put the shoes on, fit the shoes, sell the shoes, flick around there. I said to him afterwards, I said, do you always push them to that end chair? Absolutely. He said, otherwise I've got to walk across to the rack, back across, harder to get. I get 3 to 4 pair of socks every time. Guess what? He had the highest average sale. Why? Because this goes with that at Suzanne's. He put the two together. 15 years of age. By the way, was my son. Where did he learn that stuff? Just being around. I never told him to do it. He just thought it. Because culturally, from being around me, doing these sort of things for many years, he instantly thought that way. And it's not about being clever or being smart or having some magic trick. It's a way of thinking. You think to yourself, well, what goes with it? And if you passionately believe that this goes with that, then you can do it in a selling situation. In fact, I took that whole concept to a whole sporting group right throughout Australia of stores. And I had a woman ring me one time from way up in North Queensland. This was some months later. And I want to take you through the phone call for a bit of fun. I answered the phone. Hi, this is Colin Bockman. This lady said, it's so-and-so and so-and-so from the sports store up in, I think it was Cairns or Mackay. And I said, oh, hi, nice to hear from you. Of course, I didn't remember her particularly from the program that we'd run, but I remembered the scenario. I just want to tell you how angry we are. I went, whoa, angry? But I'm positive. Well, what do you mean? She said, well, we've done as you suggested. We've put the cricket pads alongside the bats, we've put the gloves alongside that, we've put everything into groups within our store, so that when people buy it, this goes with that at Suzanne's, which is like you said. So we've done all those sort of things. And I've looked at our sales for the last 3 months. And our sales are up more than 25% on average across those 3 months. And I'm sitting there listening to this conversation thinking, well, what's she angry about? And then she said to me, here's what I'm angry about. We've had this store for 14 months, and I've just worked out how much money we've left on the counter in that 14 months, just because we weren't doing what you showed us to do. So I just wanted to say thank you. And I went, oh, great. And I hung up the phone. My belief is that every time I run these sort of projects, 1 will ring me, but 10 are still doing it out there. There's so much to be done in the right way. But what happens today is that people try and sell add-on for the wrong reason. It's got to be profiled, it's got to be with purpose, but once you get the links together, it's so much easier. And in fact, I've got a little booklet on it, add-on sales. And what I call it is giving the customer the privilege of being totally satisfied. And that is what it's about. Add-on sales is not about stitching the customer up, forcing them to buy stuff they don't want, overselling them, all those disgusting, terrible words. It's about adding the value in such a way that the customer is happy to have done so. So that's just one of the other ideas that we've got, and it's in this little booklet, 30-minute read, easy to do, got all the secrets there.